If we come here and we do not take action over these 2 days, what have we done? Now I'm going to give you 10 tips. 10 keys to success, business and life. Most important question I can teach you as a leader to ask someone is, if you had to choose, what would it be? And that was coming next if you kept pushing. In order to be a great leader, you've got to become a great communicator. If you want to be the best communicator, you must learn how to ask questions. Different types of products, different types of services, different types of companies, but almost nobody talks about this.
The best speaker to start the conference, Sheridan.
Oh, wow. We just keep on growing. Isn't it amazing? When you think back where we were just a few years ago, and we were in just a smaller room. I guess it was here in this, heck, I can't even remember where it was now, but now we're just in this big conference hall. It's amazing. Amazing what's happened. But it's due to the culture that Dimitri has created. I've said it before, it's not a lie. This is the event that, in terms of the culture of the people, I most enjoy. I will speak 70 times around the world this year, and it's this group that I find is the most special because it's not like a lot of groups out there. But I want to talk about that as we go. Now, we've only got about an hour, and we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, a little bit about life, a little bit about everything. I need everybody's help. I need your help today. If you're willing to help me today, say yes. Okay, good. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and this is very, very important. I got a couple of runners today. Who's got mics? All right, good. Got 2 people with mics. Now, I go to events, and I see people that have their life changed. And then I go to events, and I see people that, frankly, they don't have a great experience. So I got a question for everybody in the room, and I want you to raise your hand, whoever's got an answer, and please participate. This is how you're going to help everyone. What's the difference between those that have a life-changing experience at this event versus those that do not? Someone raise your hand, quick. All right, we got one right here, and we got one right behind, one right there. Pay attention to the hands. One right back there. Raise your hand high, back there. And now, go ahead, my friend. Hold the mic close.
The people that change are hungry. They want something better.
So the people got to be hungry.
Absolutely.
That's right. You got to be hungry, which means when you're hungry, you go to the kitchen.
Yeah.
The food doesn't come to you, does it?
No.
And so as we're here, we all got to go to the kitchen. You got to make the food. You got to prepare it in order to eat. It will not happen on its own. That means we got to be proactive. Good job, my man. One right behind him, by the way. Where's the other one in the back? Go ahead. Quick, put the mic next to him. You got to be fast.
Is it on? Action.
So what do you mean by action?
Implementing what you learn.
You got to do it. The truth is, and this is the truth, 5% of the room actually does what they hear every year. Now there's another 80% that says that was great and I loved it. And then there's another 15% that says, nah, not for me. Not for me. We got to take action. If we come here and we do not take action over these 2 days, what have we done? Go ahead and say it. What have we done? Nothing. You wasted your time. I wasted my time. We all wasted our time. We didn't come here to sing Kumbaya either. We came here to be challenged with the way that we think and the things that we do. We came here to have deep conversations. That's why you're here. So make those conversations happen. We have another one right here. Go ahead, my friend.
I do believe that the people that change, we are the ones that we are not afraid to try new things.
Yes.
The ones that we are open to ourselves and to the rest of the people around us to show them that they have the value, the power to try new things. And that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, amigo. Bien hecho, señor. I like it. Not afraid to make change. Los cambios son buenos, no? Every single time. We got to make change. But we're all resistant to change. You know, I was with a group of contractors yesterday, insulators. They spray insulation. I was talking to this one gentleman afterwards. And he's telling me, Marcus, this was amazing. I'm going to do this and that. And I said, you're going to do it. What's sad is most aren't. He said, you know what? The people at my table were saying, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Now, how is that possible? Because he said to me, I was talking to these guys that were doubting you, and they have a $2 million business, and they were bragging about their $2 million business. Like they had reached the pinnacle, $2 million. Their business still owns them. They don't own their business. If you have a $2 million business, you know this, I know this, your business still owns you. You don't have a saleable business yet. I'm going to show you how you can have a saleable business. Some of it's marketing, some of it's sales, but all of it's action, my friends, all of it's action. The actions that we're willing to take. My point to you is this. Don't be too cool. When you're in an event like this, don't be too cool to not to go to the sauna, to go to the conference. You were saying, don't be too cool for that role play in that moment, or to stand up and say what you're really thinking in the moment, like right now, for example. Do not be that person that's trying to protect something, whatever that something is. Put it on the line. That's why you came. And if you do that, you're going to figure out why you came. And speaking of that, remember, the most important thing you hear this week isn't what a speaker says. It is what you hear. There's a big difference between the two. And what I mean by that is, I might be saying something this morning, you hear what I'm saying, but what comes to you is an impression about you as a father, as a mother, as a leader of your organization that really had nothing to do with what I just said in that moment. But that's why you came. Impressions matter. Those that write those impressions down and then take action, your life will be changed. Those that hear the impression and then don't do anything with it, we're not going to get anything from this moment. So write the impressions down. Be serious. Now, for those that don't know me, and I'm not going to spend much time talking about me as the pool guy today, but the long story short, I started a swimming pool company called River Pools in 2001. I was right out of university. Things were going okay until the market collapsed. But what's great about the market collapsing in 2008 and 2009, and by the way, raise your hand if you were around in 2008, 2009 with your company. Raise your hand, right? An amazing time of growth, wasn't it? It separated those that were serious from those that were not. It was kind of like that Bubba Gump scene. You remember that? After the storm, one boat left. But it was an amazing time for me because I was so uncomfortable and I was so close to losing my business, so close to filing bankruptcy. My wife wouldn't even ask me, how was your day? Because she knew my day had sucked. That was the strain of 2008, 2009. But because of that strain, we did things that hadn't been done. We marketed in a way that nobody had done. And we became the most trafficked swimming pool company in the entire world online. And we developed so many leads outside of our little area in Virginia that I said, what am I going to do with all these leads? So I took the revenue that we had generated and put it into a manufacturing company. We became the fastest growing manufacturer of fiberglass pools in the U.S. And then we became the first franchise of fiberglass swimming pools in the U.S. Today we have river pools all over the country. And I sold the franchise and I sold the manufacturing, but I still own the original company. It's just 150 pools a year in Virginia. I still own that. Runs itself. I have a team that run it. $15 million a year business. Today, my life is completely different. And that was a journey, but I want to show you how that journey happened. And I'm hoping that you're going to lean into it with me, what this journey has been like. Now, I'm going to give you 10 tips, 10 keys to success, business and life. I'm hoping you're going to write them down. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Hedgehog concept. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Hedgehog concept. Good. Now, it comes from a book that everybody in this room needs to read. It's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. Get it on Audible. Read the book. Whatever you got to do, Good to Great will change your life. I've listened to the book at least 12 times. Now, here's the thing about a hedgehog. It's a simple animal. It doesn't do a lot of things very well. But the hedgehog does one thing very well. And this is why it survives. It rolls up into a spiky ball, and the fox don't want nothing to do with the hedgehog because of it. Hedgehogs to foxes taste good, but the fox can't get to the hedgehog because it knows what it is. A spiky ball. It does that one thing really, really well. So how does this apply to you? So if you want to break down your hedgehog concept, you got to understand these three circles. What are you passionate about? What drives your economic engine? In other words, how can you make money? And then finally, number three, and this is the one that I think matters the most, what can you be the best at? What can you be the best at? Now, here's what's interesting. For a long time in business, I didn't know what my hedgehog concept was. When I started River Pools, here's what I was doing. Vinyl liner in-ground pools, fiberglass pools, hot tubs, tanning beds, pool tables, saunas. I was selling all of it. And because I was selling all of it, what was I known for? Go ahead, what was I known for? Nothing. Nothing. What was my specialty? Nothing. What was my differentiation in the marketplace? Nothing. Because I didn't understand my hedgehog. You got to understand what you are. Once you understand how your hedgehog works, it affects every facet of your business. Because when I started to think differently about marketing in 2009, I said, what can I be the best in the world at? In my mind, I said to myself, I can answer their questions online, on my website, better than anybody else has done. I know I can do that. There lies the ask, you answer. That's how it came. But guess what I didn't do? I didn't even worry at first about social media. I wasn't doing any social media because I said I'm going to be the best in the world at this one thing. And so because we had a clear focus, we dominated and we became, like I said, the most traffic simple website in the world. It was understanding what could I go after. Now, I want you to do an activity and everybody's got to play. This is important. And this is at your tables. I'm going to give you 2 minutes at your table. And I want you to tell your table, starting with the person, let's say, that is furthest in this direction of the table, working your way around. I want you to say what your hedgehog concept is. Now, don't start yet. I can tell you right now, your hedgehog concept is not roofing. Because that is not specific. That's not a hedgehog concept. Now, it could be a particular type of roofing, but it's got to be a specialty, a thing. So I want you to verbalize to your table what your hedgehog is. And if you're just with a single person, verbalize it because you may have never done it before. Now, here's how this works. I'm going to say go, and you're going to go. As soon as I raise my hand, everybody in the room stops talking and raises their hand with me. So we're going to practice it one time so we don't screw this up. Good. That's exactly how it's going to work, and you're going to see how it works in 2 minutes. And this is how you take a room of 1,000 people, and immediately you make them stop talking and come back to center because we got to have good flow today. So I want everybody at the table to explain what your hedgehog concept is to your group. Ready, go. Come on. Come on. Talk it out. Don't be too cool for school. You see, you don't have to speak in order to control a room. If you understand the principles of communication, it's amazing if you just set the conditions beforehand how you can lead your team. Doesn't matter how big the team is. Now, raise your hand if you struggle just now to tell your table what your hedgehog concept is. Raise your hand. That's exactly right, we're here. If you don't know what you are, nor will the marketplace. You got to be known for something. Choose what you can be the best in the world at. Now, You might not know in this second, but it will come to you if you start leaning into it. There's been times over the years people ask me to do things. Hey, Marcus, why don't you do concrete pools? Because I'm not going to be the best in the world. Yeah, but you could make a lot of money. I could also lose a lot of money. I'm going to be the best in the world at fiberglass pools. Be the best in the world at that thing. Know what you are. I'm not a pool guy. I'm a fiberglass pool guy. And I was the best in the world at teaching about fiberglass pools online. I wasn't the best in the world at social media. I was the best in the world at teaching about them online. On our website. Through text and video. That's Hedgehog concept. That's Hedgehog concept. Challenge to you. Figure out what your Hedgehog concept is as a team over the next 2 days. Have a conversation about it. Let that guide you going forward. Number 2, key, an obsession, and I really mean it, with personal development. Love this phrase. Personal development. I fell in love with a man named Jim Rohn when I was a teenager. If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, you need to YouTube him and you need to swim in his teachings. He said many things. One of which he said was, to have more than you got, go ahead, you got to become more than you are. He also said, you got to learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, let's be honest for a second. Real quick. You in the middle of the black shirt next to the lady that's yellow. Do you work harder on your job or do you work harder on yourself? Which one?
I'm in the middle.
Make a choice.
Job.
You work harder on your job. Now, by the way, in life, when you ask a question, constantly people will give a 5-step answer. I'm not sure. Come right back with the question. When you come right back with the question, you get the truth. Most important question I can teach you as a leader to ask someone is, if you had to choose, what would it be? And that was coming next if you kept pushing. So he chose his job because you're being honest in that moment. Folks, the majority of us in this room work harder on our job than we do on ourselves. It's backwards. For years, that's what I did. And that's why I was in so much struggle. Because my only solution was, Marcus, work harder, harder, grind, grind, grind. It's got to get to a point where you work smarter. That you do it differently than everybody else. But it starts with a love of self-improvement, personal development. Read the books. Do the thing. Don't waste time like everybody else. There's a reason I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. Do you think I got time for Game of Thrones? I mean, people watch it for 12 hours and brag about it online. I'm like, you have no life. Game of Thrones. What? I'm reading the game of business. I'm reading about all these things that I can do to change my life. It's going to happen overnight, y'all. All right. So, if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, I want you to start listening to him all the time. I have heard his same talks over 1,000 times, and I listen to him 3 to 4 times a week to this day, 20 plus years later. That's why this idea of, somebody might have said, why is Marcus coming back? I've heard Marcus. You need to hear him again. And I need to say it again. Because the more we do the thing, the better we are. That's like saying, I read the Bible one time. I'm good. What? Repetition is the key to learning. Number 3, communication is the most important skill you can develop. A couple nice gentlemen this morning at the table said, so are you a natural at this whole speaking thing, man? What most people don't realize is I had a huge fear speaking when I was in high school. Huge fear. I had an experience where I was asked to get in front of the student body, and it all went bad. I almost passed out in front of the group. And I said to myself, I was probably 14, 15, I said, I'm never going to get in front of an audience again. But when I was around 16, 17 years old, I started going to church for the first time, found God. And in my church, once a month, anybody can just get up in front of the congregation and share their feelings about God. And I remember sitting there one Sunday, then I was like, I want to get up and share. And I said, Marcus, you better not get up there. You don't like to public speak. And before I knew it, it was like the Spirit had carried me right up to that pulpit. And I started sharing my thoughts on God. And that was the day that changed my life as a communicator. Because I realized, you know what, maybe that's something I'm supposed to be doing. And so now, for the last 20 years, I've been doing more and more. And for the last 12 years, I've spoken all over the world. What was a weakness became a strength. Communication is key, but it's so key mainly with your team members, with your team. Case in point, recently, I had an employee. I've got a couple different companies. On one of my companies, I've got like 70-some employees. It's a marketing agency. Teaches companies how to do, they ask you, answer, whatnot. So I have two people up for a position, like a promotion. One's a girl, one's a guy. They're on the same team. They're up for promotion. The gal says to the guy, yeah, I don't really want this promotion. And so comes time for a promotion, and the gal gets a promotion. The guy didn't get the promotion. Dude was pissed. He was so upset. He told everybody, I said to the management team, he said, I'm leaving the company. Now, my business partner goes and talks to him. He says, man, you just need to prove to them that you deserve the promotion. He gets even more upset. And he's about to leave the company, and then, of course, they call on Marcus to have a conversation with the gentleman. And so I sit with the gentleman, and instead of assuming his intentions, I said a simple question. Do you feel like you deserve this promotion more than her? He said, what? No. Suddenly that changed the whole conversation because everybody else had assumed that he thought he deserved it. That wasn't the point. But nobody had bothered to ask the questions that matter. So then I asked him, why are you so upset? He said, because we're friends. And she told me over and over again that she didn't want the promotion. I feel like she lied to me. Now we're getting somewhere different. Starting to have a different perspective, aren't we? Because we've asked the right questions. And we kept going back and forth, and I finally said to him, because he was hurt, I said to him, now I want you to be honest. Did she mean to hurt you? And he said, no. And at that point, the whole conversation changed. The next day, he apologized to everyone. And he's going stronger than ever today. It started by asking questions instead of me assuming that I knew what was on his mind, what was driving his frustration or sadness or anger. It starts with questions, just like many of you learned last year. In order to be a great leader, you've got to become a great communicator. If you want to be the best communicator, you must learn how to ask questions. Questions is the key to life. It's not your job to tell your team what to do. It's your job to help them discover for themselves what they should do by asking the right question. That's what changes lives. That's what develops leaders. That's what means you've got the type of person that now has the skills to lead a team and can take your place. Instead of, if you're getting 500 texts a day, if you're getting constant emails a day from your team, it means you are a poor leader. And you haven't developed those under you. Leadership, though, starts with great communication. You want to develop those under you? Get them to think for themselves. That's the power of leadership development. Number 4. We're all in the business of trust. If I said to you, is trust going to be fundamental to your success in 5 years? What would you say? What would you say? You got to pick it up. What would you say? If I said to you, is trust going to be fundamental to your business in 20 years? What would you say? So we're all in the business of trust, right? Okay, good. Problem is, too often we sit there and say, that's not me. It's not about you. You're in the business of trust. That's what you signed up for. Now, along these lines, many of you have heard me talk about the principles of the ask, you answer. If I had to break the ask, you answer down into 3 core actions, it's these 3 right here. If you want to become the voice of trust in your space with your Hedgehog concept, you need to be willing to do these 3 things. Number 1, you got to be willing to talk about on your website what others aren't willing to talk about. What did you hear Dimitri talking about this morning? He calls out the industry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is why there's a room of 1,000 people, because you believe him. He's not serving money. He is serving a higher purpose. You feel it, and so do I. That's why I come to this event and believe in it so very much. It's a higher purpose event that we're talking about right here. So the point is, you got to be willing to talk about that which others in your space are not willing to talk about. You got to be honest. You got to be transparent, but you got to be willing to do it. Number 2, you got to be willing to show through video what others aren't willing to show in your space. Maybe it's a process. Maybe it's your people at a more intimate level, but you got to be willing to show it. And then finally, number 3, you got to be willing to sell in a way that others in your space are willing to sell. Making it easier, making it faster, etc. Now, we're going to do an audit, and I want everybody to participate. Raise your hand if you can honestly say, right now, we're talking about showing and selling in a way that at least 95% of our industry doesn't do, and we're doing it consistently. Raise your hand if you can say yes to all 3 of those things. Look around the room. You got about 10 hands raised. 10 hands. Good job. You're on your way. Most people, they like to think they're different, but in reality, they're saying the same things that everybody else is saying. You got to be willing to talk about show and sell in a way that they are not. I talked to a group yesterday. Couple dudes, good dudes, told me how much they ask you answer has exploded their business. One of the big factors, they put a pricing calculator on their website so that they could price, the homeowner could price more clearly, get a clearer budget on the front end. During that buyer's journey where they're vetting you to death online and you don't know they exist, during that period of time. I got so thrilled to hear this because they're taking action. Raise your hand if you've got a pricing calculator on your website right now. Good. Talk to the ones that have pricing calculators. This is where we're going, but they're the leaders, and everybody else is going to be the followers. Don't be a follower in business. You make the rules. Don't follow the rules that were given to you by someone else because they did it first. Challenge yourself to be first. Now remember, when it comes to they ask, you answer, there's 5 fundamental components that are going to help you become that voice of trust in terms of what you talk about and what you show. And those 5 things, we've talked about them before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them today, almost no time. But for those that have not heard, the 5 subjects that run the economy right now, the economy of search, they run Google. This is what buyers want to know. This is what you want to know. Here are the 5. As buyers and consumers, we want to understand how much is it? Cost. Give me a range. Give me a sense. What drives it up? What drives it down? You don't have to give exact prices, but you do have to help them understand. And if you don't teach them what value looks like in this industry, who will? The competitor, which is utterly unacceptable. Well done, Moses. Number 2, problems. As buyers, consumers, we want to know, how could this thing go wrong? This decision I'm making. If I'm getting a metal roof, what are the problems with the metal roof? If I'm getting an asphalt shingle roof, what are the problems with that? If I'm getting whatever that material might be, what are the issues? What are the drawbacks? It turns out it's only when somebody wants to buy something that they research what could go wrong. Those are your most serious buyers. The ones that want to know, what are the drawbacks? What are the issues? Talk about those things. Somebody says to you, why is that so expensive? That's a great question. Addressed on your website. It's a problem, it's in a cost. That's the type of thing you should be addressing through text, through video, etc. Number 3, comparisons. We love to compare online. Different types of products, different types of services, different types of companies, but almost nobody talks about this. You know who the worst is? The manufacturers. I don't know how many manufacturers there are here, but I can tell you, ain't none of them any good at this. And I hope they hear me, because they already know it's true. You have the opportunity to become that voice of trust, but you can't explain to everybody why yours is the best. You got to talk about who it's for. You got to talk about who it's not for. You got to talk about the pros, and you got to talk about the cons. You have to talk about both sides of the coin, not just why you think it's awesome. You become dramatically more attractive to those people out there the moment you're willing to say who you or your product is not a good fit for. But that also comes from knowing your Hedgehog concept. Because then you can put a stake in the ground and say, this is who I am. This is what we believe. This is how we roll. And if you don't align with that, it's okay. We can recommend somebody that does. Besides, you don't want every lead that comes your way. You want the right fit. The happiest businesses in here are the ones, they don't know just what they are, but they know what they're not. And because they know what they're not, they say no more than anybody else in this room. The ones that are most frustrated with their job say yes more than anybody else in this room. Yes, the jobs you know you shouldn't take. Yes, the projects which you know are out of scope or out of your capabilities. Why? Because you say, I need the money. But you probably need the money because you don't know who you are. I'm asking you to know who you are. Number 4, reviews. The key to reviews, though, is they want to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you install different types of materials on a roof, let's say, you need to be giving reviews to the marketplace. Again, who's it for, who's it not for? Good, bad, pros, cons, and then finally best. We're constantly searching for the best, the most, the top. Best materials for such and such. Best type of roof for such and such. And it goes on and on and on. This runs the economy of search. 80% of the content on your website, 80% of the content on social that you do should relate to these 5 things. But if we looked at most websites in this room right now, it's less than 10% of your content talks about these things. Am I right? We got to do better. This is how you become the voice of trust. Now, because we don't have time to talk a lot about They Ask You Answer today, and I know a lot of you have never really heard me talk a lot on it, here's what I did. I did essentially a 2-hour video course. It's free. There's no opt-in, literally. Here's the only thing you have to do. You send to resources@impactplus.com. It's a blank email. You'll get access, or anybody on your team will get access to a 2-hour video course created by me for your team, teaching you They Ask You Answer, because we don't have time to cover it today. I want you to get it and do it again and again with your team. Watch it again and again. And every time you watch it, you'll be able to, you don't even need to buy the dang book. Just watch the video over and over, and I promise you'll be flooded with ideas. All right? And that's my personal email up there if anybody has questions for me. Let's keep going. Number 5, never let personal opinions screw up smart business decisions. I was recently meeting with a company that was slightly struggling. They used to be leaders in their space. I said, well, video is our future here, gang. And the CEO says to me, I don't like video. Well, guess what, Charlie? The marketplace doesn't care what you do or don't like. Newsflash, I don't like social media. I can't stand it. Do I do it? Yes or no? Why do I do it? Because that's what the marketplace asks for. Now I choose the right social media, the right platforms, the right focus. I'm not everywhere, because if you try to be a jack of all social media trades, you'll be a master of none, hence your hedgehog when it comes to social media. But be careful about your opinions. They will screw stuff up all the time. You say, I don't like TikTok, I don't like short video. Your opinions do not matter. First, ask yourself, where is the marketplace? If the marketplace is there, then it now means, okay, how do we meet the marketplace where they are? Gone are the days where we say, marketplace, you come here. You do it our way. You do the sales process our way. No, I'm not going to give you any information until I'm with you at your home. Those days are dying. You know it and I know it. So be careful about those personal opinions, slowing you down. Number 6. Financial literacy. The biggest unspoken problem probably in this room is a lack of financial literacy. 3 years after I was in business, I hired this one person, most dedicated employee I ever had. But I started to have financial problems. I couldn't figure out why. But man, was she dedicated. And because I was such a financial doofus, I gave her check signing authority. Because she asked for it too. You know where this is going, don't you? Turns out that she embezzled hundreds of thousands from the company. This was in roughly 2005. So by the time 2005 was over, not only was I hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, but it turns out every Friday when she told me she was going to the bank to do our taxes, she never did any of our taxes for 2 years. Thus, I had a lien against me from the IRS. Do you know who doesn't care if you've been stolen from? The IRS is run by the devil himself. I promise you. No soul. And so, I've got a lien on my house. In 2005, my 2 business partners have a lien on our house as well. You want to talk about fear? My wife living in fear. House is going to be gone. That's her nest. House is going to be gone. And so in a time period when the 2005 through 2008, where the economy was great, everybody's making money, what am I doing? I'm paying back loans. So by the time the market collapses in 2008, I've got nothing in the bank because I spent all my time getting out of debt from the IRS. Thinking, when am I going to get a break? But that's how business works. It makes us better in the long run. That's the opportunity. Raise your hand if you have experience and embezzlement in your business. Raise your hand. Raise it high. Look around the room. Embezzlement is a major problem. But it happens because we say, that ain't my thing. That's not what I do. Numbers just aren't my jam. But we can't, I beg you, come from that place. Take an online course. There's enough free ones out there that you can become financially literate. You got to be able to read your financials. You got to be able to understand them, especially if you want to scale your business and then if you want to sell your business. Make that a goal of yours in 2023 and beyond. Number 7. If you want to be the best you can be, you have to understand what drives the people around you. What motivates your team? What motivates your children? What motivates your family? Now, I'm going to try to cover this quickly, but if you learn these things here, it could change your life, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, you might have remembered this from like some class in high school or college, but this applies to business directly. You see, every employee you have has the most basic of needs at the bottom of the hierarchy. In other words, I need air, water, food, rest, and health. So they're asking themselves, mainly, can I put food on my table with this job? That's the first question they want to know. But as you know, if it's just based on that, they're going to go to anybody that can give them more food to put on the table. You have to give more if you want to keep your team. And so then it becomes a matter of security. Key phrase being stability. Do you help your team members feel like they have a stability with the company? That's number 2. Number 3, social. Feeling of being loved, belong, included. Now, a lot of you hardcore dudes are saying, I don't need to feel included. I don't need to feel like I belong. That's BS. Yes, you do. All of us do. Man was not meant to be alone, nor was woman. We're meant to have social groups. And we're only as good as those 5 closest to us in terms of relationships. And so, do you provide that sense of team with your team? Or is every person for themselves? Next up, you've got ego, power, recognition, prestige. How often do you recognize the good acts and deeds of your team in front of each other? And when I say recognize them, I'm talking about the specific acts that they do. Or do you just say, good job, everybody? They don't want to hear that. Just like your wife doesn't want to hear, you look pretty. What she wants to hear is, that dress looks stunning on you. I've never seen you look so good as you do right now. They want specifics. Feedback is based on specifics. Positive, negative, specifics, not generalities. You don't make headway in life with generalities. You make headway with specifics. Am I right, ladies? Thank you. And finally, number 5, the top of the food chain, self-actualization. And this is where the person that works for you feels like they became more of a man or a woman because they work for you. That they reached a sphere, a place that they never would have reached without you. My obsession is helping my team become something that they never dreamed possible. And if I do that, what happens is they say, I could go other places for more money, but I will never become the person I could be without the development I get right here. So I invest in them to make them stronger, wiser, better. And because of that, I have people that will run in front of a train for me because of the persons they become. Now, I want you to go home, and I want you to make this list, and I want you to say, what are we doing right now to fulfill or fill each one of these voids, each one of these needs with my team? What you will find is there's blanks, if you're being honest with yourself. So figure out a way how to provide each one of these areas. Think outside of money, folks. It ain't about the money. There's so much more going on here than that. Number 8, do not neglect the smallest of disciplines. It's never the big stuff. It's always the small things tied together that lead to great change or terrible tragedy. Every single time. For example, I travel around the world, which means I'm constantly in a position to eat too much and not get enough exercise. So I have simple disciplines. As soon as I get to the hotel, wherever I go in the world, gym first, First thing, gym, boom, hit the gym. This is how I've maintained my weight within 5 pounds for the last 20 years. I don't fluctuate in weight because gym first every time. If I'm in an airport, I've got my work bag, I've got my duffel bag. I never take the escalators ever. I love it when I'm in an airport and I see 4 tiers of steps like in Vegas. You know that one in Vegas as soon as you come down the main? I love going home in Vegas, looking at the hordes of people go up the escalators. And there's me, chopping up the steps. Yeah, that's right. Whoa. Sometimes I turn around and go back down and up again. It creates this tone in my life. It's the simple things. Another thing I don't do, I go to a hotel, I don't turn on the TV. Ever. Why? I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself. My commitment to my wife is full focus on her. I don't turn on the TV in a hotel. Now, I haven't had a problem with it, but that doesn't mean I'm not too proud to say I don't trust myself. I don't turn on that TV. It doesn't rule me. Are you feeling me here? Say yes if you feel me. All right, good. Number 9, the difference between success and fulfillment. Let me cut this one quick. We constantly hear about how to be successful, but the problem with how to be successful is success is defined by everyone else. Fulfillment is the higher plane. Fulfillment is how you perceive your life, not how everybody else perceives you. So, when I sold my manufacturing business, I started an offshore fishing company. Today, I have an offshore fishing company out of North Carolina. We do trips. I've got a captain. I've got a YouTube channel because my greatest passion is fishing with my son. That to me is fulfillment. But yet everybody's saying to me, like, why'd you start a charter fishing company? That's so weird. Because I want to fish with my kid. I love fishing. I'm living my best dang life. Understand the difference between the two. Are you fulfilled? Or are you just trying to look successful for everybody else? I own a minivan. Why? Because I don't care what you think about my car. I am fulfilled when my kids get in that car. And my grandson, who's 2 years old, and he's awesome. And finally, number 10, the power of 10 years. You know, for me, everything started to change around 2010. 2010, I'm still struggling. I've never made more than $100,000 a year in 2010 in my life. I'm in debt. I'm scared. I'm trying to do this they ask you answer thing, but we've got a long ways to dig out. Fast forward to 2020. We have the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. We sell the business. I become a multimillionaire. I'm speaking all over the world. Everything has changed. And that's because of the great praise, which is we oftentimes overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 10. Folks, you have no idea where you could be in 10 years. None. If you just have a plan and you stick to it, it'll shock you the changes that could occur. But it starts with everything else we discussed today, the small disciplines, the focus on communication, the obsession with personal development. That's what's amazing. And now my wife, she loves to say, how was your day? Because she knows I live a filled life. She's not afraid to ask me how my day was anymore. I own my businesses, but they don't own me. So I get to pick and choose where I go. And so think about these things. Think about your why as you drive through this week. Run into the week. Run into each session. Don't hold back. Have the conversation. If you're with the person in the elevator, Ask them how their day was. Start the conversation. Don't stand in the corners. Look at the person right in the eye. Have that conversation. Change your life, maybe change theirs. That's the challenge. You've been amazing. Thank you very much. All right. Now, we have time for some questions real quick. Don't leave. I want to answer some of your questions. It could be about marketing. It could be about sales. It could be about life. Raise your hand if you've got a question right now that you want to ask, and you got an opportunity to come on. Who's got one right here? We got one right here. Who's got another one? Raise your hand if you got another question. Come on. Right there is the question. All right, right here first. Talk close to the mic.
Can you give us some ideas on self-actualization tips on how to do that with our guys?
So self-actualization. So an example of self-actualization with your team is when you have a meeting, do you lead the meeting or do your team members lead the meeting? Do you see what I'm saying? I don't ever lead meetings. My team leads the meeting. Now, what will happen oftentimes is they might be new and I will say to them, you're going to lead the meeting today. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, because I believe in you. I'm going to be there with you, but you're going to lead the meeting today. Do you see what I'm saying? That's self-actualization. If I can teach them a skill that they don't currently have, like financial literacy, that's self-actualization. Okay? The list goes on and on. Find all the things that you're doing, give them a little taste of it. You're improving your life, or are they improving theirs, or are they just working by the hour? You know what I'm saying? Good stuff right there. Good question. Another one right here, nice and close.
What software system are you using to build out the calculator?
Okay, to build your calculators, what are you using? The best ones that I have seen were custom built. That being said, the easiest out-of-the-box system is a tool called Outgrow. So it's outgrow.co. O-U-T grow.co is the website for that. Who's got another question? Right here, right there in that shirt right there. Gotta be quick. Who's got another question? We got one over here. Dude, over there. All right. All right, go ahead in the greenish shirt.
Do you have any examples of, like, when you're trying to find the motivation in your team, or let's say one or two specific people, of any kind of questions you would ask them when you're trying to find out what motivates them?
Okay, so great question. How do I find out what really motivates my team? So one of the things that we know is that oftentimes we never get past the surface with conversations with team members. So we ask them, how's it going? They say fine, it stops there. You need to learn to ask more specific, relevant questions. For example, what makes you happiest about your life right now? Now, the first answer they're going to give you, by the way, is, man, I don't know. And you're going to say, no, seriously. If you had to choose, what makes you happiest about your life right now? Now, the next thing is, what is the biggest struggle in your life right now? They're going to look at you funny, like, really? No, seriously, I want to know. What is your biggest struggle right now? I'll tell you my biggest struggle first. Now, just by saying those two things, now you can have really, really deep conversations that you don't normally have. That sets it up. You got to understand what's going on in their life. And they got to feel like you care. Once they feel like you care because you've really dug. I mean, like, if you ask that question, you should follow it up with like 3 or 4 more questions. Not about you, no lessons from you. Just ask, curious. And then finally, you can say things like, so if you had to pick where you are in 3 years, what does your life look like? Paint that picture for me. What are you doing? Who are you spending time with? What are the activities? What are you making financially? Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Good job. Love the question. Another one over here. Who's got it? Go ahead.
Ask, you answer. How much do you see the blogging content and all that changing now with AI and ChatGPT?
Oh, AI. I love the question. How is they ask, you answer? And AI changing with AI. Excuse me, and just the digital changing with AI. First, let me say this about AI. Something that probably nobody's thought of. They thought AI, artificial intelligence, was going to replace blue-collar workers like truck drivers. Newsflash, Guess who AI is replacing? White collar. It's the writers. It's the programmers. You know, the programmers that were going to be safe and secure forever because they know web design? Nah, not so much. Which means your job is not going to be replaced by AI. AI can't do what you do. It's glorious. It's also going to lead to an influx into the white-collar space over the next coming years. Now, the thing about ChatGPT and AI, and I recommend everybody learn it, because we're using it and we're teaching companies how to use it, is if you are producing content through ChatGPT, the key is that you personalize it with story from your team, your customers, etc. That's fundamental to this process, because it shouldn't sound like a robot wrote it. It should sound like it's a very educational, written in a first-person style. One of the questions we get all the time at such and such company is, so Marcus, what do you think about such and such? It's a great question, and we're going to answer it in this article today. You see what I'm saying? Personal. And in fact, let me tell you a couple of experiences we've had around it. But the other 1,200 words, ChatGPT wrote it. That's fine. Now, the key to understand, too, is that what we're seeing is you're not going to be replaced by ChatGPT, but you're going to be replaced by somebody that's using ChatGPT or AI. That's what's happening in the marketplace. So learn to use AI with your business. It'll change your life. No one in this room has any concept or understanding, myself included, as to what the impact of AI will have on us in our lives over the next 10 years. It's going to utterly change the world. So don't get behind the 8 ball. One more question, real quick. Well, right there, one more question.
I know you already shared some of this advice, but what would you say is the key to keep employees working for the same company without losing them and making that team to grow? What would you say is the key? I know you mentioned some, but do you have one that you can say, hey, this is the specific 1 or 2 or 3?
Bro, you got it. You saw it. You have to do the activity, though. I don't want to do it for you. So you say to yourself, all right, how am I filling each one of these voids? Be very honest with that pyramid, that hierarchy that you saw. Now, besides that, you have to learn. If you force me to choose one, you have to learn how to have deep conversations where you're inducing those light bulb moments with your employees. I'm constantly inducing light bulb moments where they're like, oh my goodness, I think I've got something. I'm like, tell me what that thing is. And they're like, I think I should do this with my life. And I'm like, yes. And the whole time I'm like, I already knew that, but I didn't tell it to them because it's theirs to discover. It ain't mine. So that's the mindset that we got to have. Get great with your communication. Ask deeper questions. And be honest and vulnerable with them so that they feel safe enough to be real with you. All right, we've got 2 days. Let's make it great. Give yourselves a really big round of applause.